Hey guys, it's Nancy from the DPT Duo. Today I'm just going to be talking to you guys a little bit about personal statements and supplemental essays. I had a friend recently reach out to me about it, so after kind of giving her some tips and really starting to think about it a little bit more thoroughly, I thought maybe I could share a few of those things with you guys. So without further ado, here we go. Alright, so I have a list of things on my phone, so I'm just going to be reading off those. So the first tip I'm going to give you guys is going to be to start writing early. Now, yes, I am telling you to get a head start, and that seems very simple advice, but if you really think about it, there's a lot on your transcript that you already have the answers to, that it's going to just be a lot of tedious work, such as transcribing everything from your transcripts onto the application. But you have the answers, you already know how to do that. So you want to make sure that you get a head start on those essays, because they are going to be what takes the longest out of everything else that's on there. Besides obviously transcribing. Getting a head start is also going to give you enough time to rewrite, edit, have someone proofread it. So my next one is about seeing the bigger picture. You want to pull up maybe like a Word document and then copy all of the questions from all of the programs that you want to go to and just copy them onto that Word document so you can kind of start to see common themes. And then in that Word document, or even if you write it down in a notebook, I would just write down the first thing that comes to your head. So as soon as you see the question, what is that first thing that you want to answer? And then just write down a few notes for it, move on to the next one. That way you can just get your initial ideas in, get those initial first thoughts, and then maybe something good can come of it, and you can kind of switch things around. If you think of something of an experience later on just because the question is worded differently, that might fit one of those earlier essays that you have on that document list. Other important fact is to pay attention to word count versus character count. This got me the first time I applied. I believe I was thinking it was word count and it was actually character count. So I had to edit out a lot out of my essays. And yes, you might be thinking, oh, well, that's easy. You know, you just end up deleting a few things but you still wrote your essay. It wasn't like that. I did have to rewrite a lot of things because I had a whole idea that I wanted to get across in a certain way, and then now I had to edit down plus cut out so much that I thought really made the essay well written and really spoke to my story. So just pay attention to that. I know it's something that's very simple, but it can be overlooked. It is okay to get stuck. I'm definitely somebody who has writer's block from time to time. So during that time, just take a break. I like to go watch something that inspires me, things that are related maybe to PT, maybe they're just related to something in general, and ways that I can start to kind of think of my life in a different perspective. Sometimes that's what brings out experiences that you kind of forgot about and you left by the wayside. Even if they did have an impact on you, it doesn't mean that it's going to come right to you right when you're writing the essays. My favorite thing to do is to have conversations. If I'm able to talk to somebody about a question and have it be in a little bit more casual rather than a formal sense when I'm trying to write it down, sometimes it does bring out that kind of that vulnerability that you really want to show through these essays. And that's something that is one of my next tips, which is be vulnerable. If you're vulnerable in other ways and speaking to other parts of your life that aren't necessarily PT related, you're gonna show a little bit more of that well-roundedness of the type of student, the type of person that you are, and that's what the programs want to see at this point. They've gone through thousands and thousands of applications year after year, and vulnerability really is what's going to help set you apart. Now, obviously it's your own discretion about what you want to share, but it's something to think about when you do have some of those defining moments that really did shape who you are now. Alright, next tip, guys, is to always double check the prompt. And also to have somebody read it that doesn't know the story or that hasn't really experienced it from you. So like if you told them the story or with you if they were there. That's just so that you really know and understand whether or not you are answering the prompt as well as telling your story correctly. If somebody knows a story already, they're able to fill in those gaps in their head and may not see those holes inside of that are in your story. So a lot of time, I know I told a friend to just have somebody that's not close to them read it. I've had people on from that PT community on Instagram. Somebody said to have a stranger read it. It's up to you however you want to do that. I know a lot of you guys might belong to maybe pre-PT clubs, so that's also another way that you could have somebody read it, that maybe if you feel a little bit weird about just walking up to a stranger, right? But somebody that you're not necessarily close to, that doesn't know every single aspect of your life. And that is speaking from personal experience. I am going to be attending Duke this fall, and that's the second time I applied. The first time I applied, I didn't get in, and so I had an application review a couple months later just to see where I might have missed the mark. And I remember that a lot of the notes that were in there, a lot of things were really, really positive. And then when it got to my essays, there were a few times that it was questioned whether I answered the prompt or not. And that to me was just very wasteful as far as like what I did, because I felt like it was definitely something that could have been done differently. It could have been, I could have done it correctly and possibly gotten in. I still don't know. As far as trying the first time, a lot of my grades and my GRE score, stuff like that, didn't change. It was just my essays, so I worked really hard on those to make sure that I answered the prompt. I stuck to it. I had other people read it, and luckily I got in this time. So going along with being vulnerable and the way that you answer your essays, I would really suggest that you focus less on your accomplishments and goals and focus more on what person you became on your way to that goal. That being said, you want to show how these, not just like, oh, I achieved this and I did this, because a lot of that stuff is already going to be placed into your PTCAS. You don't want to waste that space that you have in your essay just reiterating what's already on your application. So use that time to really talk about how your perspective changed, what you were feeling at the moment, how you overcame something, but actually talking about you and that journey of becoming the person that you are now, and how that maybe will reflect to you as a student or as a better provider or anything else of that sort. Be creative. This is your story. You don't want to tell it in this formal way where everybody knows that there's those 5 paragraphs, and then you have your introduction and your closing, and then you have the 3 body paragraphs in between. You don't have to limit yourself to that. This is just an essay, however you want to write it. If that's what, that can be a narrative. It can be in that same format if you want to have an introduction and a closing, if they're very strong. I'm going to talk about word vomit. I am someone who is either having a great bout of inspiration, or I am extremely stuck. I get really bad writer's block, so it's one or the other. I never really find myself in between, unfortunately. But I do make sure that I take full advantage of those moments when I have so many words to give to my essay. When my brain is spitting out the words and thoughts and ideas, I'll pull up a Word document and I just write. It'll be run-on sentences. It's nothing cute. I have words in parentheses because I can't quite find the right word, but I don't want to spend 5 minutes trying to figure it out. And I'm like, it sounds something like this, and I'm trying to convey this message, but I'm not sure yet, question mark, and parentheses, and then I just keep going with my idea just to try to get as much as I can out there, and then I can just go back and edit the parts that I really like, as well as the ideas and thoughts that are there that might actually work better for other essays. Alrighty guys, so I think those are all of the tips that I have today. I'll definitely start to think about a little bit more of what that was like for me. I know I got a few tips from Rich about these, but definitely if he has more things to share, I'll let him know that he can just pop on here and add a couple for you guys. And follow us on Instagram at the DPTduo. Not .com on that one. It's but yeah, I'll catch you guys later. Thanks for watching.